program, those programs or those connections would be given to me, and then I would reach out to families. And the first step would be for us to schedule tours to go out and see the potential programs that are of interest. And that's just taking a little bit of time going out to the classroom, meeting the classroom staff, and learning a little bit more about the program. And then after we do those tours, we would actually schedule the student to come for a visitation day, which allows the student to get a better feel for the program and also allows our staff in those programs to get input that they can share with the team as far as, do we feel this is going to be a good placement for the student moving forward? And then after those visitation days have been completed, that's when we would notify the family if the student is being offered acceptance into the program, which at that time the family could accept or decline. And I said, with the exception of Project Search and YTechX, which we will talk more about, there's a more formal application process for those two programs. So I'm going to go ahead here and attempt to share my screen.
Let me make sure that you have the capability to do that. And I think I just gave it to you.
You guys see that okay?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you. So again, I am from the Lincoln Intermediate Unit. I serve as the Transition Coordinator, Work Experience Coordinator for the IU. I am going to provide this presentation to Ryan after tonight so he can share this out. And there is a link here on the first page that I will utilize kind of throughout that takes you into more in-depth information for each of the programs that we're going to go through tonight. So again, Jessica Timcheck, Transition Coordinator for the IU. There is my email, and Ryan, feel free to share that out with anybody that would have any questions. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. So this is just a little bit about what I'm hoping to cover tonight, that I can explore all transition programs offered by the IU with you as my audience, and allow you to gain greater knowledge and understanding of these programs. Just a short little blurb here about transition planning and why it is so essential to our students, because we want to work together while they are within school and provide them with those unique experiences that are going to allow them to be the most successful adults when they exit school and move to the adult side of things. And this is just a presentation I had created for an in-service last year, and I had put a little bit of information again in there about what transition is. And in the state of Pennsylvania, legally, we are required to start talking about transition at the age of 18. And I just listed here all those essential people that should be part of that transition planning process. I can't stress enough how important it is to have that student there and to have them voice their opinions and share their thoughts as well, because they are the most essential piece to that planning process. And like I said, we really want to provide them with opportunities that are going to be of most interest to them based on, you know, what their skills are and the things that they're interested in pursuing as they get older. Again, this is kind of just an outline of transition and all the pieces to transition. It talks about living arrangements, employment and finances, the relationships that students are able to build, the mental and physical health, and community participation. And then this is a list of all of our current programs that the LIU offers, and I am going to go through each of these and share a little bit of information. If you have questions, I would ask if we can just wait until the end, and then I will definitely answer them for you. And like I said, I will kind of share and reference the link that's also provided in the presentation that will be able to give much more in-depth information as far as brochures. There's some presentations that our teachers of these programs have made, and you will have access to all of that information after tonight. I'm sorry, go ahead, Brian.
We are recording this, so we'll have that to also access as well, and so that'll be good. We can post that as well on our website.
Thank you. So again, this is just a list of all those programs, and I'm just going to start and go through each one and give you a little bit of information. This was a map that I had created last year just to kind of reference out the programs that we do offer and how we sometimes look at those programs in terms of the population of students that they serve. So a lot of times when we're looking at a potential student that's maybe coming out of the high school setting, sometimes we are going to start at this starting point. And when I say starting point, our New Visions programs are typically a starting point for a lot of students. Now, that's not always the case, but they're kind of considered our lower tier programs. And then a lot of times our lower tier programs, students within those programs, based on the amount of years of eligibility they have remaining, will sometimes move on to a mid-tier program, or even a top tier program. So I'm going to kind of reference that as we go through tonight. But I just like to point that out because it can get very confusing and overwhelming when you think about all of these programs. And please understand that not all programs are going to be potential programs for all students. It's really based on an individualized basis and what their goals are and where their skills lie. An important piece for me as a transition coordinator is anytime I get contact from a district about a potential student, is I typically will ask, can I come out to the building and can I spend maybe a half hour in their classroom and observe them and meet the student? Because I usually feel pretty confident after spending a little time with them that I can maybe direct the family in one or more directions of different programs that might be essential and kind of good starting points for them as they're looking at transition programming. So as I mentioned, Project Search is one of our top tier programs. And when I say top tier, it is considered top tier because it does require a very high level of independence. Project Search is a partnership between the OVR, LIU, and WellSpan, and we actually have two sites. We have one at the Gettysburg Hospital and one at the York Hospital. So Project Search is a one-year internship for students that are accepted. Students do have to be 18 to apply for Project Search, but they could also apply as a super senior, as we like to call them, at age 20 or 21, based on how many years of eligibility they still have remaining. But it is a one-year program, and it does have to be a student's last official year within school services. So if they apply at 18 and are accepted, then they would have that year, and then they would be expected to exit school after that one-year internship. Something new with Project Search that just started within the last 3 years is our interns are now being given a stipend for being part of that program. So during that one-year internship, they will do 3 different rotations within that year. And if they are successful during those 3 rotations, their attendance is positive, they're doing what those expectations are, they will earn a stipend of $625 after each of those 3 rotations. So that's really been a big piece that has changed here, like I mentioned, in the past few years, and that seems to be working very well and drawing a lot of students in because of that paid portion to the program. But Project Search does take place at one of those locations, either the Gettysburg Hospital or the York Hospital. Typically, the interns are out within the hospital settings working in different departments. They do have some academic pieces built in with the program, but they're spending majority of their day out in the hospital setting, working in those different rotations and learning those skills that they need to be successful within them. In order to be considered for Project Search, you do have to have an open case with OVR because of that partner with OVR. So if it is something you would be interested in exploring, that's definitely an essential piece we would want to make sure is in place prior to considering the program. This is just a little bit more information about eligibility. As I mentioned, they do have to be at least 18 prior to starting. They have to have those open cases with OVR. One of the big pieces with Project Search that is different from any of our other transition programs is that Project Search does not provide transportation for the students. And again, that is really because this is a very high level independence type program. So what we do within Project Search is our instructors get the families connected with Rapid Transit, where a lot of our students are going to utilize door-to-door Rapid Transit services to get themselves to and from the program each day. And again, that's really to teach that skill of being able to utilize public transportation in a real job life setting. We have students that have their license. So if they have their license, they can drive themselves to and from each day. And if the public transportation would become an issue with not being able to utilize it, we have had parents bring students to and from, but we're really going to stress using that public transportation and or the license if a student has that ability. Obviously, any student that we're looking at for Project Search is going to want to be competitively employed, is going to want to have a job. the outcome of going into the project search program is that students are leaving there with employment. They have a very high success rate of placing students in employment once they exit the program. So again, there's some of the eligibility as far as looking at that program as a potential option. And this is just a couple pictures of some of our students, former students that have been in the project search program. Another program I'm going to talk about tonight is the YTechX program, which is actually located at the York County School of Technology. So again, this is a partnership between the LIU and York County School of Technology. We created this program about 5 years ago because we were finding we had a lot of students that were applying for the regular programs at York County School of Technology and were maybe not being accepted into those programs because it may not have been able to provide the level of support they needed to be successful. So we kind of brainstormed and came together and created this 2-year program. So it is a 2-year commitment applying for the program, and you have to have those 2 years of eligibility. Students can apply to YTechX as early as their junior year of high school. But again, a lot of times we might not have students apply until they've kind of exited the high school setting, and they might apply as those super seniors as long as they have those 2 years of eligibility remaining. But the way the YTechX program works is students go through an application process. We currently have those applications out now for interested students for next year. And any student that does apply will be invited then in the spring to come to a student experience day where we walk through some different scenarios with the students. We speak with parents that day as well. And the students go through an interview, they go through an assessment, they do some different team building activities, and then we would notify families usually about a week or two after the experience day and let them know if they are being accepted into the program at that time. But coming in as a year 1 student, students in the program are going to go through 3 or 6 different rotation areas within the program. And those rotations areas are going to be culinary, construction, automotive, landscaping, early childhood, and cosmetology. And they are required to go through all 6. So a lot of times we get questions of, well, my child may not be interested in this particular trade and isn't interested in participating, but it is a requirement that they do all 6 for that year 1, just to really give them some exposure to some different areas that maybe they didn't even know they had an interest in. And I will point out, cosmetology is usually the one we get questions about a lot because a lot of male students typically aren't interested in that field. Our students are not doing hair. They're not doing the same things that regular students at York County School of Technology are doing. We're doing more of those skills of a possible salon assistant. So there's really essential skills there of answering a phone, taking appointments, things that they're going to need regardless of what field they end up going into. So that's what year 1 looks like. And then for year 2, our students will choose one of those 6 areas as a focus. And year 2 then will be fully immersed within that focus area. Again, this is just some of the eligibility to the program. Like I mentioned, they can apply as an 11th grader. That's the earliest they can apply, and they just have to make sure they have those 2 full years of eligibility remaining. I stress that just because with the whole 22 piece that's in effect right now, it gets a little confusing, and we need to make sure that these are 2 full years of eligibility. So that's one of the programs where that really falls into effect. Just things to think about if you have a child that you're possibly considering. You know, students in this program are working around different machinery and tools and things like that. So safety is obviously always a concern when we're looking at potential students. Again, we created this program to allow for additional support. So we have 2 classroom teachers within this program. One teacher has the year 1 students, one teacher has the year 2 students. And we also have classroom assistants within those programs, and those classroom assistants travel out with the students when they're in the different shop rotations to be there to support them, offer guidance, anything that they might need to be most successful. Typically, any student that is leaving the YTechX program once they've completed their 2 years, the expectations would be that they are leaving to go into employment or possibility of attending like a post-secondary training option. I mentioned to Ryan, we were at Hiram G. Andrews Center yesterday in Johnstown, PA, which is a great facility if you've never been out there. And a lot of the programs that HGAC offers kind of coincide with the programs that we offer within the YTechX program. So we've had students leave that program and then move on to the HGAC Center. And here are some students, pictures of our students that have been in the YTechX program. The next program I'm going to talk about is the program we refer to as KNOTS, which stands for the New Oxford Training Site Program. And this program is actually located at the main office building of the LIU in New Oxford. So this is a program that has a paid portion as well. Students that are accepted into the program are paid for 3.5 hours of each day that they are present. They spend a lot of time within the office building doing various cleaning type activities throughout the building, and also supporting building staff with different projects and things that they might need support with. They are paid, I think, currently at a rate of $11 an hour. So like I said, 3.5 hours of their day they're being paid. I can't say enough great things about this program. The teacher of this program does an amazing job. She's really built this program and she supports her students so well. Majority of their time is going to be spent within the office building setting, but they also now are traveling out to some local off-site locations as well, just to, again, to continue to kind of give them exposure to some different areas and best support them in their goals moving forward. Students of the KNOTS program are required to be 18 years or older when they are applying. It's open to IU and district special education students. It is mentioned there, typically at the beginning of the year, they're going to go through an unpaid orientation time, and that usually lasts till about mid-October. Once we hit October, they're typically getting put on payroll and then will be paid for the remainder of the year. And here are some pictures of our KNOTS students. Prior to this year, we did have a partnership with the SPCA. Unfortunately, the SPCA has kind of changed some things, so we're not actually going there anymore. But I know with the students, when they were there, the animals were always such a hit. The other pictures that you're seeing here are actually a partnership we have with the Naya Carey Center in New Oxford. And the students go there sometimes when the weather is nice. They're outside doing some landscaping type things. They also have a thrift store location there that students help participate in as well. And one of the new areas that we explored for this program this year is called Prestige Apparel, which is a local screen printing business. So we've been able to take some of our students with that art interest and art background there to be learning some of those skills. Another program we have is the Gettysburg Outlets. Again, these programs are going to all have very similar things, but yet be very different at the same time. The nice thing about the Gettysburg Outlets program is there's so much to access just within the outlet facility. So majority of the sites that they are traveling to for some of their volunteer work sites are there just on the campus of the outlets. They work with 2 hotels there at that location. They work with a couple of the restaurants that are there. They also kind of help support the office staff at the outlets by taking around memos and supporting the stores that are there. And then they also are traveling out to some various different off-site locations throughout the school year as well. Typically, this program is going to serve students 17 to 22. Any of our transition programs, we're really going to work to have that partnership as well with those OVR counselors. And the nice thing about the outlet program, like I said, with all of the access that is there with the different stores and locations, is we've been able to be flexible with students in the past who have that partnership with OVR in providing some work experiences there on the campus of the outlets. We've had students in the past, get employment where they're able to come to school for the school day, but then working with the district, we've been able to give them that opportunity that they might go out during that school day for 3 to 4 hours and actually work and get paid and then come back to the classroom. We've had students work at TGI Fridays. We've had students work at Old Navy. So there's a lot of access to some different things that we can build upon within that program. And here are some pictures of some of our students in the Gettysburg Outlets program. The animals always seem to be the hit, regardless where we are at. As long as there's animals, the students seem to be happy. Another program that we offer is called our Senior to Senior program. This program is actually located at the East Berlin Community Center. And some of you might be familiar with where this program used to be housed prior to COVID. It was a program that we actually housed at the Brethren Home community. But unfortunately, with COVID and all the changes that had occurred, we did have to move out of that location. So they've been at the senior or the East Berlin Community Center, I guess it's been 5 years now, and they've really built a really nice partnership with that facility as well. If anybody's familiar with the East Berlin community, it's a tiny community, but they do a whole lot. There's a lot going on in that community center that the students are able to help and participate with as far as typically monthly yard sales that they hold. They do a lot of different like book sales and things throughout the school year. There's actually a thrift store location at that site, so students are able to work in that setting as well. And we also travel out to various off-site locations as well. And some of those are Senior to Senior works with Old Navy in Hanover. They actually do still get to go out to the Brethren Home community 1 day a week, where when they are there, they work in various departments of the Brethren Home community. And then they're working with a local greenhouse facility. So students get exposure to helping with some of those events that are taking place there. They work in the greenhouse, working with a lot of succulents and plants. And then a nonprofit as well, which again, I will mention the nonprofit is on a farm. So there are lots of animals and the students always seem to really enjoy that. And here are some pictures of our students that have been in the Senior to Senior program. The next program I'm going to talk about is New Visions, which we actually have 2 New Visions sites. We have a New Visions Hanover and we have a New Visions York site. As I mentioned earlier, this program is a lot of times a starting ground for a lot of students when we're potentially maybe looking at transition programming and placement. They're really going to have a greater focus on some of those independent living skills that students are going to need to be successful. Both of our New Vision sites are currently housed within single family homes. So it really gives that feel of the upkeep of taking care of a home. There's, a washer and dryer there, so they can utilize doing laundry in that facility. They have kitchens, so they're cooking and prepping meals. Just doing those various types of things that are going to allow students to really learn those skills of being independent adults. And then they also, each of those locations also travels out to various community sites where they're doing different volunteer type activities. Sometimes our New Visions programs, again, because it is a starting point, sometimes we can look to pull students in at a little bit of an earlier age. Most of our programs are going to serve students 18 to 21, 22, but we have pulled students into New Visions at an earlier age, sometimes around age 16. And here are pictures of some of our students from those 2 programs. Another program that we offer is called the Pioneer Program, and the Pioneer Program is actually located at the York Learning Center. The Pioneer Program is a life skills transition program for students ages 16 to 22, and it's going to serve students with more complex needs. So we have in the past, there are students even coming from MDS classrooms that are able to utilize the Pioneer Program. They do a lot within the building setting of YLC. They have a coffee cart there. They help with various tasks throughout the building. I know they do some cleaning in the cafeteria after meals, but we've actually been able to get them connected as well. And now they're traveling out probably to, I would say, 3 or 4 different offsite locations this year. They're working with Farm Fresh York and getting out and getting to do some different things with harvesting and whatnot. They're working with a local senior center, which I know has been a lot of fun for the students getting out and being able to do different activities with that older population. And then they also work at a local church where they have a daycare facility, and they are there actually when the daycare facility is closed, but they're helping with the upkeep of those rooms and cleaning and making sure those rooms are ready to go when the students are back in attendance. And here are some of our Pioneer students. And then one of the newest programs that we recently started is called STEPS. This is the second year that STEPS has been up and running, and currently it is located at Southwestern School District, but it is located within the middle school building. We chose to put this in the middle school building for the reason of this is a secondary transition program. So typically it is serving students anywhere from the ages of 16 to 21, 22. But we wanted our students to be in that middle school setting so that they could be seen kind of as those superiors and have the younger students looking up to them. But what we were finding is in years past, we were starting to get students interested in some of our transition programs that were coming out of AS classrooms. And we were finding that sometimes those students maybe were not fully ready for that first step of New Visions. Just because New Visions is, accessing the community a lot and they're out and about. And sometimes that was just a hard transition for students coming out of AS classrooms. So we worked to create this program to kind of allow that step in between. It's been very successful for the students that we have been brought in, and it's a program that's kind of set up on a very individualized basis where the goal is for students to come into the classroom and start utilizing transition services within the classroom. And when they master that, then we're moving them out into the building setting where we have different transition services that we're able to utilize within the building. And then as they're comfortable with that and they're mastering that, we're then moving them out to community sites. So like I said, this is only the second year that the program has been up and running, but our students that are there currently, this year it's been kind of exciting because they all have been ready to get out to community sites. So we've been able to build some of those into their schedule each day. And here are some of our current STEP students doing some of their jobs. And that is the end of my presentation here, but I do want to go back. Hopefully I can figure out how to do that. And I want to go back here and just reference the link that I had at the beginning, which I will make sure that Ryan has this as well so that you can access all of this information. But if you click on that link, that is going to provide you, like I said, if you go into this folder, I have listed here all the different programs that I just spoke on behalf of. And if you go into each of those individualized programs, it's going to give you much more information. So this is Project Search. I have a folder for the Gettysburg site and the York site. And if I click on that York site, like I said, there's a presentation that was created by our classroom teacher last year that you'll have access to. So you can see some pictures of some of the different departments that students work in within the program. One of the exciting things I noted in here too, our students were just recognized in an article that WellSpan had put together. If I can pull this up here. And it was just referencing our program and our current students that are there this year and just the things that they have been doing. So that will all be here for you. The other nice thing about Project Search, when we went through COVID, unfortunately, that kind of hindered a lot of things as far as getting out to see different programs that were available. So our previous instructor, who has since retired, she was able to create a series of video walkthroughs of the program. So I have those linked in there as well. And if you click on those links, each one is about 3 to 4 minutes. But it's just kind of a walking tour of the hospital and they're narrating it along. So it explains things that they're doing within those different locations as well. Hopefully. Trying to get back here now. Just to show you a little bit more. One of the other things I wanted to point out here, when you go into the main link, there is a brochure, a flyer that I created last year as well, which this gives you kind of that overview of all the programs I just spoke on behalf of. It's just a little bit of information about each one, but that's been a nice flyer to be able to hand out to interested students and families just to kind of give an overview of the different programs and what they offer. But again, like I said, all of these is going to provide more information if you go into them. This is YTechX, which I do have linked in there as well, the current application that is out right now for any students looking to apply for next year. There is a slideshow that you can access in here, which again will kind of provide some additional pictures and information about the program and what students are doing. Um, just lots of great information. Most of our programs have a brochure, so you'll find those linked in as well. But as I mentioned, any questions that you have, I definitely can take some time to answer tonight, but please feel free to reach out to me with questions as well. I'd be more than willing to answer those for you. So I'm going to stop sharing mine. All right. So does anyone have any questions that I can answer at this time? I know I just gave you a whole lot of information.
A lot of great information there.
Thank you.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering, over the summer, are there programs? I work 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday. My grandson is 17. Are there any programs over the summer that would either work around my work schedule, or they would provide transportation so he has something he can do that's, kind of productive over the summer rather than just sitting home?
I mean, there's different options that could be available to you. I mean, all of our programs that I spoke on behalf of tonight, and that's great to mention as well, they're all considered school programs, so they would just run during the course of a school year. And like so they would, each program follows a different district's calendar based on where they're located, but that's going to run like a typical school year. So rather than going to a school building, they're going to go to that location where that program is located, but still follow that typical school schedule and still have off for Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, those types of things. But I mean, if your child is connected with OVR, there sometimes can be experiences over the summer that OVR can help support. Now, I will be honest with you, OVR is going through some changes right now, and it's not 100% sure that the programs they've been able to offer in the past, they're necessarily going to offer the same things moving into this summer, because they had kind of gotten flat funded by the state. So there's some things
Okay.
going on there. But I would suggest, if you're not connected with OVR, that might be a first step to get connected and see if maybe there might be different things available during the summer months that your child could get involved in.
Okay. And would I just like Google OVR and it would give me a phone number and contact information?
I could provide you with our
Okay.
contact here at the district. His name is Grant Waltersdorf. And
Okay.
so, Wendy, I will, and your child's name is, so I can connect with you.
Jason
What?
Rodriguez.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering what's out there, what my options are, what's available.
Another
for over
area,
the summer.
yeah, it could be CareerLink that I could hook you up with.
Okay.
CareerLink in Mackenzie Stall, we work with her. They have a summer work program where the students work about 30 hours a week in the summer for so many weeks. So we can talk
Okay.
more about that.
All right.
Any other questions? I think it's really cool that you have those videos for the project search. That's
It
really,
is.
yeah.
Yes, and I said Ruth Moore did such a phenomenal job with that. When she retired, I wanted to hire her just to come do some of that media piece because she was so good at it. But yes, I think that's very helpful for families because it gives more of that, picture for them of the program and the different areas that the students can work within.
Yeah. Any other questions? We really appreciate Jessica's information and time spent here with us this evening. And we appreciate each one of you that joined. I will be posting some of this information on our website, and we'll be getting it out there probably through the Remind app. If you are not signed up on our Remind app, please reach out to me or Becky Stauffer or your case manager, and we'll get you hooked up there with that, with the Remind and the information that we'll post that on there as well. So I think we're going to call it an evening.
All
And again,
right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for being here, and for all of you for being here. And we appreciate your time this evening.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.